Welcome back to another week of Instigating with Clarkey and Drury, brought to you as always by our friends at Coolbet Canada, our friends at the Listowel Squash Courts, Listowel Vision Care, and See the Game. Ryan Drury along here with Chris Clark. We're very pleased once again to be joined by a great special guest. Longtime CFL fullback and running back. This guy was drafted by the Argos in 1976. He spent time across a 9-year illustrious CFL career in Toronto, Hamilton, and Edmonton. He won 3 straight, not just 3, back-to-back Grey Cups with Edmonton in 1980, 81, 82. He was inducted into the Canadian Football Hall of Fame in 2014. He is currently serving as the Minister of Tourism, Culture, and Sport for the great province of Ontario. Ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Neil Lumsden. Neil, how are you?
I'm great. Hey, let's be clear. I made it to double digits as a player. So I made it to 10 years. And that's a milestone, okay? So not that I'm trying to correct anybody, but I've got the bruises to prove it.
The correction is warranted. The correction is warranted. Guys? 10 years.
This is
We're
awesome,
doing
guys.
well, my friend. Dude, it's great to have you. And I mean, it's especially great to have you after what was an excellent Grey Cup, because we saw a classic between the Argos, who, of course, you spent a lot of time with, the team that drafted you, of course, the Boatman win. We were all on the Boatman on our Coolbet bets. We will talk about that later, of course. But man, oh man, what a great game that was, Neil. Just back and forth in Toronto. Underdogs, obviously, but they played a really complete game and they managed to take down the back-to-back champs. What were your thoughts on what ended up being a very good Grey Cup?
Well, I agree with you 100%. I mean, not many cities that'll do it any better than Regina and the province of Saskatchewan, number one. Number two is great stadium. Surface looked great. It was crisp, but not really cold. So no reason for weather to have any kind of influence, which it didn't. And I think, like most people, everyone was thinking Winnipeg, and I thought so too. But I had a sneaking suspicion if Toronto could run the football on those guys, they'd have a real shot. And then having the opportunity, or having someone to be able to come in as they did at a quarterback, Kelly, and do what he did after the injury, I was the difference. I mean, it really was. And what a crazy finish with the special teams block. And even though it was a great block, but I don't think the ball was going to come anywhere close going through the uprights. But having said that, it was a pretty complete game. It's one of those games where it's so cool to win and so hard to lose.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that last 4 minutes. Just wild. We saw an interception. Basically the Argos thought they had the game won, and then all of a sudden the face masking penalty, haunts them there. But boy, oh boy, the 2 block kicks. And I agree with you. I think the Winnipeg kick he shanked it to the left. But
yeah, boy, absolutely.
What a way though to bounce back. The guy who got the penalty for face mask was the guy who blocked the kick. What a great way to bounce back, eh?
Yeah, it is a great way. And of course, we don't know. I agree with you 100%. The way the ball came off the ground, off his foot. Now, that doesn't mean it wasn't going to get into the end zone, because they were only down by 1 then. So it could have made a difference. But if you're going to redeem yourself, what a great way to do it. And what a great time to do it. Shortly thereafter, he hooks up on the metal and the face mask. So that's a game to me that had it all. It was really well played. I don't care where you play and what year you played. There's always going to be some mistakes. But, yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. And talk about keeping people right up to the very last second. Oh, my God.
Ryan mentioned that you won 3 in a row. How hard is it to do? I mean, we haven't seen it very often in the CFL, and Winnipeg had a chance, but couldn't pull it off.
Yeah, it's really hard to do. It's there's a uniqueness there that I know that on the broadcast they were talking about, or at one point, whether it was pregame or halftime, that it's hard to keep teams together because of free agency and the change of the collective bargaining agreement, where a player can really just sign a 1-year contract, whereas years ago, your 1-year contract was really a 1 year and an option year, which meant it was 2 years. But I always look at it as players will go to a spot where they're making good dough, and they make pretty good dough, where they know they always have a chance to win. And with a guy like Mike O'Shea, who I don't know really well, but I know Mike a little bit. And then you've got Teddy Gavaya, assistant GM, Danny McManus, assistant GM. Those guys have done a tremendous job of keeping a core together. And to me, if you got really good coaches, which Winnipeg does have, and they keep the personalities and just make minor changes year in and year out. Not big changes. You make good decisions on players, which a lot of teams don't do. And that's what Winnipeg has been all about. But give Toronto their due, boy. McLeod Bethel-Thompson, I thought he played really well for most part of the season. There's not a stronger arm around, frankly. It was all about him learning to control it and throw to the right spots, which he was doing. And I felt bad that he hurt his thumb on how many times have we seen a quarterback whack his thumb on a helmet or get jammed in a throwing motion? Quite a bit. So I felt bad for him, and I don't know him at all, but something tells me that based on who I've seen, his personality is, he's okay. I mean, he's happy someone else got a chance to play and participate. And at the end of the day, they're all Grey Cup champions, not just one guy.
Yeah, it was really impressive. And like you mentioned, McLeod Bethel-Thompson, he'll be their guy, but Kelly has probably earned himself a potential look as a starter somewhere else. Like, people are going to be calling Toronto after that performance he put on. And I mean, you consider the situation that he comes in. I mean, it's the last game of the year, Neil. Like, it's do or die, and you got to come in and take care of business. And he certainly did that. Like, did he play spectacular out of his mind? No, but he made all the right decisions, and he held the team together at a time when they could have fallen apart. And that was really impressive too.
Yeah, I think so. I think that obviously he has there's a bit of a pedigree there indirectly with the Kelly name. And of course, I think his uncle was the quarterback in Buffalo, right? That was his uncle. That's
right.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, there's obviously something there. And more importantly, he didn't do anything wrong. But as far as jumping to the conclusion and say, hey, this guy may have earned a spot. And, I think we got to hold our water on that. You can't get too excited about any player in a very short period of time, regardless of how big the game is. And I think too many teams jump at those opportunities and don't really find out what a player is like. I'm not just talking about quarterback. I'm talking about any position. And teams have struggled along. And, Hamilton might be a great example of that, where they've moved people around at the quarterback position. And they haven't been able to find and stick with somebody. And I think that's hurt them in the long run.
I was going to ask you about the Ti-Cats, but first, the Argos record in Grey Cups. They haven't lost a Grey Cup game since 1987. Like it's 7 crazy. Straight Grey Cup games. It's unbelievable. And then conversely, the Ti-Cats, the last time Ti-Cats won the Grey Cup, you were with the organization, if I'm not mistaken, in 99. What else has gone on with that Hamilton Ti-Cat? Well, I mean, last year we know it was sort of a boneheaded play when you said even if that Winnipeg kicker got the point or got the ball in the end zone, I was going to say, well, Hamilton maybe would have given up the point, but the Argos probably would have ran it out.
I think that, you're right. It was last time they won was in 99. I was CO, chief operating officer, GM, or some silliness like that. We had a really, really good core of people. We had a great head coach in Ronnie Lancaster. His assistant coaches, Don Southern, was the defensive coordinator. I mean, that was truly a group of players that we went in 98 and lost, I think, to Calgary and BC, and then we won at BC, where we lost to Winnipeg, I think. Either way, we had a great core. And again, it was a little bit like, Ronnie came out of the Edmonton system. He came to us from Edmonton, and they knew how to do things and keep things consistent, like Winnipeg has become. So, but they haven't been able to find the right combination of things in Hamilton. Look, listen, they're a good football team. They're hosting the Grey Cup next year. They've got, I believe, Bo Levi Mitchell's contract, an opportunity to renew him and have him to come to Hamilton. I think Hamilton will be all in this year. I still think a very good quarterback, and he could make a difference for them. And Dane Evans could be the number 2 there. I wouldn't be anointing, and I wouldn't have last year anointed Dane Evans as the guy, because I believe a little bit more traditionally that you got to see a little bit more from a player in multiple situations, in multiple environments, before you really believe that, hey, he's our guy. We're going to pay him big money.
Neil, on the subject of Hamilton, because again, you played in some pretty unique markets, obviously a ton of success in Edmonton with back-to-back titles, but then you get drafted by the Argos, and then you also play on the other side of the GTA divide in the Hammer. Tell us a little bit about some of the differences between the three markets, and maybe specifically with those two, because those two fan bases, they certainly like to give each other a lot of gumption, and the Argos have had the better of it over the last couple decades, obviously with Hamilton not winning since 99. But what was your experience like in these markets, Neil?
Well, I can tell you one thing, and without trying to sound like saying, oh, back in the day, but I had great fortune of playing in the CFL when the quality of the play was really good, and never, ever played in front of a small crowd. I mean, Toronto had 54,000 people at CNE Stadium. Hamilton at everyone was always sold out. I mean, when I was in Edmonton, there were 52,000 season ticket holders. Calgary, I mean, it was a very different environment, but yeah, you talk about Hamilton, and it's special. I mean, I live there now. Love the environment, love the people, and their passion behind their football team. And Toronto is just I know they struggle in the stands, but it hasn't been because of lack of quality. They've always had, or they've been able to always have pretty good football teams. But the attitude is very different. As an Argo, I was coming out of university first couple of years. I had a great experience. Russ Jackson was my first head coach, and then he was let go. Leo Cahill was the second coach I had, and I realized that it wasn't really the place I wanted to be, and asked to be traded. And they said, "Well, we figured you'd like to stay close to home, so we traded you to Hamilton." I thought, really? That's the reason? Like, I'm staying close to home? Come on. And I later found out that trade almost had me going to Edmonton. It fell through, but a year later, I got traded to Edmonton, which is a very interesting story in itself, how that trade happened. So it very different markets, very different attitudes, very different fan base. I mean, you look at in an Argo Ti-Cat game in Toronto, Ti-Cats travel really well. I mean, they love coming down and following their football team. So it's a unique rivalry, one that you don't find anywhere or just everywhere. And I think it's one of those things that helps keep the spirit of Canadian football alive.
And I hope this championship and the move to, which I think is one of the best probably facilities that the players play on at BMO Field, being the only natural grass in the league, helps this fan base, because you know what? They get a lot of people watching them on TV, but they just don't seem to be able to attract people down. I went to one game this year, loved it, great time. It was fun.
Yeah, they got to go get their fans, Clarkey. They can't just make an assumption. The winning doesn't do it. And if anything else in this market, or the market in Toronto is, well, I'm in Toronto right now. It isn't about just winning. There's only one team that can, no matter what happens, that they draw fans, and that's the Leafs. Everyone else, if you don't win, whether it's the Jays, whether it's soccer, it goes up and down based on how you're performing. So you've got to win, but you have to also get and cultivate fans. And it's one of those things that I don't think they've done a good enough job in the last 15 or 20 years, because they lost their foundation. So they've got to build that back. Hopefully this will be the start of a great strategy for them to go out and find those fans and bring them in, put the hook in them, and keep them for a long time.
Yeah. We're chatting with the Honorable Neil Lumsden. He is the current Minister for Tourism, Culture, and Sport here in the province of Ontario, and also a long and illustrious CFL career. Neil, I do wonder, you mentioned going to get the fans, and a big part of that nowadays is social media, getting in touch with the younger fan base, if you will. And, the CFL took a little bit of a social media beating over the weekend because, they seem to take two steps forward sometimes and then one step back. The following day in the morning on the CFL website, there's nothing up about who won the Grey Cup. A lot of people were kind of pointing that out. The Argos, I don't know what your opinion of this is, Neil, or how, much you maybe saw this or took it seriously. The Argos championship gear, it has black and yellow on it. People were very upset. Clarkey obviously included.
Oh, yeah.
The championship hats and shirts, the word Grey Cup champions has gold and black lettering around it. It was very confusing. People were not happy. And it's just little things like that where I kind of look at it and go, you kind of like, is someone not in charge of this?
And before you jump in, Neil, Ryan, I went looking right after the game because I thought it would have been hot. Get in there and look. Nothing
on the website.
No, nothing on the Argos website, nothing. It was about 1 or 2 days later. I finally saw it on Real Sports. If you look hard enough, you would have found it. And it was $110 for a sweatshirt. And I'm like, you know what? I can spend $110 somewhere else. Like, just sell a million of these at $40 instead of 100 at 110. You know what I mean? I don't get it.
Yeah, I know. You guys need to get Randy Ambrosi on the line, and you need to talk to him about this, because I'd love to hear. I mean, I'm a fan of Randy's, and I like him a lot. He's a wonderful guy. And he was a really good player when he played, especially when he was with the Eskimos, and I can say that. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see what he has to say, because to me, that's not good enough. I mean, you need to be ready, and in typical fashion, they always have championship gear done up for both, from a distribution perspective, and certainly from handing it out at the game after the game time. But you got to be ready to go. I mean, you got to plan and get ready to drop the puck, so to speak. And it's disappointing to hear that.
It's just one of those things, and Clarkey, we talk about this all the time, where it's not even a really, for me at that point, having produced a lot of things, including, aspects of this show and different shows over the years, it's not even so much a cost thing. It's just a very simple technical thing to take care of. And someone, has got to watch over this. Yeah. I don't know if you have Randy's number, but you can slide him mine. I'd be happy to help him out, because I think he's a good commissioner too. I think in terms of running the league from the sporting aspect of it, he has done a lot of good things. It's little simple things like that where, if it continues in 10, 15 years and people are wondering how come no young fans are coming, well, this is why. It's just little things like this that all add up, right, Clarkey?
Oh, absolutely. There's no question about it. And yeah, like, I just wanted to buy something right after the game, and I didn't, because I couldn't. Yeah. And I'm like, that's not good enough.
And listen, these days you don't have to have a warehouse of inventory, because you produce based on order. So I mean, that's not a difficult thing to do. So that's a little disappointing, and that's just lack of preparation. And from a fan perspective, that's they need that, but that's not how you get fans in. And there are other ways to do it, and very quickly. One of the things when I got to Hamilton is we changed very quickly, is we don't give tickets away anymore. It's we used to call it the airplane drop. Yep. No more airplane drops, because if people don't pay for something, there's no value to it. So no matter what, whether it's okay, Clarkey, you got to buy a full ticket and you bring your son and daughter for $5. That's okay. That's how you develop it. But there's this free thing has to stop. I don't know if they're doing it or not, because listen, that's their business, and they're a very large organization connected with another very large organization. So I'm not going to tell them how to do business. But one thing you should never do is give anything away.
Well, one thing in terms of business that you certainly took care of in your career was winning, and you did a lot of it in Edmonton. I mean, take us back to that time, because the Edmonton franchise, they've had quite a few dynastic times in their franchise, the life of this franchise, which is so well supported. I mean, you mentioned back in the day, and I'm sure it's similar now, 52,000 season ticket holders, not people coming, people that have the tickets already. It's just an incredible market. What was that like? Winning 3 straight of anything's incredible, but to win 3 straight Grey Cups with the ferocity, the violence, the up and downs with your health through the years, what did that feel like? What was that time in Edmonton like? Because you guys played a big part in it becoming the city of champions. You guys got there before the Oilers did. What was that time like, Neil?
Well, it was special. It reminded me a little bit of my time at the University of Ottawa when I first went there out of high school, and our head coach, Don Gilbert, and what he developed. And you're limited time in university. You've only got 4 years from a freshman to senior, and coaches have to figure out what the formula is to make sure you bring players in, and you've always got players running through, so you get better. You just don't stay competitive, but you aim at winning a championship, which we did at Ottawa U in '75, the Vanier Cup. And I put that on the coaches, and specifically our head coach, Don Gilbert. I put what we did on a number of different people. Huey Campbell, who's just a special guy, a wonderful coach. And more importantly, he had great assistant coaches. Don Matthews, defensive coordinator. Joe Farragelli was offensive coordinator. Cal Murphy, offensive line coach. I mean, I could go on. So it was, as Huey once said, like, what makes me good is I hire people smarter than I am, and I let them do their job. And then they create the culture. And the culture was like second to none. When I hear people talk about their experiences, and listen, everyone has a great time. And yes, physically you get beaten up, and emotionally it's hard. And I mean, it's a hard way to make a living. There's no better way to make a living from my perspective, but it is hard. Mm-hmm. But when you can be in an environment where you don't have to be best friends with everybody, but you're close, there's a closeness there as you get closer to every game and afterwards that had a uniqueness attached to it that just, it's really special. And it's sometimes it's hard to describe, as you're probably gathering, because it comes down to the people. It's not how good of a player you are. It's the kind of person you are, and being a great player, and bringing that together and keeping it together was wizardry. And that's what Huey Campbell did. And I won't forget about Norm Kimball, who was the general manager at the time. So yeah, it's having great vision as a management and coaches that understand how to get the best out of players and treat them the way they should be treated, and the way we were treated, which was like men, not like kids, treat us fairly, was really hard. They were hard on us, but that's what makes you good.
Absolutely. We're continuing to chat with the Honorable Neil Lumsden, who is, of course, the current Minister of Tourism, Culture, and Sport here in Ontario, longtime CFLer. Now, you just brought it up. Your career, I mean, you're a serial winner. You started winning right away with the Ottawa GGs. You won a Vanier Cup, which some would argue is extremely hard to win as well. One of the harder trophies in sports to win, certainly in North America. You win the 3 CFL titles, of course. You have a long, great career. Now, I imagine you want to bring that same kind of winning mentality to your political career, of course, based out of Hamilton. But tell us a little bit about your role as the Minister for Tourism, Culture, and Sport. Obviously, Ontario and Canada at large, a big part of our tourism and our culture has to do with sport, but it's so much more than that. Tell us a bit about your role and what it entails and the mentality you're bringing to it to kind of enhance, if you will, what's already so great about Ontario, Neil.
Well, that's a great question. I mean, first I had to start with becoming an MPP of Hamilton East, Stoney Creek, which everyone said was a long shot. And we had, again, I had a great campaign manager, had a great team and volunteers. We outworked, we outthought, and we had a better strategy. So that's why we won. I think that when you talk about it and you hit on, it's funny, I think you intended to say it this way, but one of the things I preach is it's tourism, it's culture, and it's sport. And then there's the culture of tourism, the culture of culture, and the culture of sport. And we've got to build those elements within each one of them. And we, like everything coming out of COVID, tourism took a hit. But what I have found out, the way I have to think and work is a little bit different than I did in private in my own business or running a football team. There's a lot of similarities, but it's a different beast and it moves differently. So you've got to. I'm still learning how to work within the environment. But back to the tourism piece. Boy, I've met some smart people that have learned from COVID-19, understood that they needed to step back and re-examine what they do and how they do it, because it pays dividends 2 years later. And they're going to be, if they're not better now, whether it's revenue or distribution, whatever their product is, or the size of the event they run, they're better. And I've seen that in a lot. The Winona Beach Festival, Festival of Friends in Hamilton, both. One was in my riding, one was in Hamilton. I talked to the organizers and we were supporters as a government of those two events and lots of other events around the province. And to see them talk about saying, we're better now. We thought about it. We realized what we had to accomplish. We had to do things differently or we wouldn't survive. And one of the things that, I try to impress on people is it's real easy to come up and just say, boy, if we could just get more money. Well, anybody can do that. But people are coming up to me and saying, we have a plan We want to share the plan with you and see how you can help us be better. And I know people are looking for support, but the engagement part is the business relationship of how they're going to do what they do, and show me how you're going to do it better, and show me why we should invest in you. And that's what this is about. These are investments into our community, into people, into businesses and festivals in our province. And when we invest properly, good things happen.
It's incredible. And I love to hear that. I know Ontarians love to hear that. It's an incredibly large plate, but I don't know if there's anybody better than a Vanier Cup champion, a 3-time Grey Cup champion, and someone who's as passionate about culture, tourism, and sport as the Honorable Neil Lumsden, who joins us on the show tonight. Neil, it was such a treat to have you on. Again, congrats on an illustrious career, of course. Next time, we're going to have to dig into you, of course, getting inducted into the Canadian Football Hall of Fame. Best of luck moving forward as the Minister for Tourism, Culture, and Sport. And we really, really appreciate your time, Neil. Thank you so much for doing this.
Oh, you kidding me? I loved it. It made my night. And anytime you want to talk about anything, even if Clarkey's involved, then I'm good with it.
You're a friend of the show now. And so even though Clarkey's here, you will absolutely be back. It was a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much, Neil.
My pleasure. Take care, boys.
All right. When we come back, there's a lot to talk about, including reviewing our Grey Cup picks. And of course, we have to review the Buffalo legendary snowstorm, where I took a big loss in the bet column. We had an over-under on the amount of snow that fell, and Clarkey can't wait to rub this in my face. We'll be right back on Instigating. Welcome back to Instigating with Clarkey and Drury. Ryan Drury back here with Chris Clark. Thanks again to our friend, the Honorable Neil Lumsden, and longtime CFLer as well, for joining us here on the show to chat about what was a great Grey Cup. And Clarkey, boy, was it ever. And we chatted last week heading into the game with our friend David Watkins, and he had a lot to say about it. We had a lot to say in terms of predictions, and boy, we all were riding the boatmen. We were on the Argos. I cashed some solid money on the game. I had Argos to score over 21 and a combo bet for them to win outright. I cashed some nice money with my friend out in Vancouver. We had a great time watching the game. It was just a great game, a classic Grey Cup. It was a good struggle.
You know what? I had a lot of fun watching this game. Like, it was back and forth. There was some great plays. There was some, I cannot believe that face mask call. I mean, it was the right call, no doubt. But the game, for all intents and purposes, at that point was over.
Just it was do anything but put your hand up there. Left.
Right, because he didn't have to. He basically walked into the tackle, but he just got his hand in the wrong spot. And then, the blocked field goals, as we were talking to Neil about, it was an incredible last minute. And I was pumped. I as you know, I won't watch every Argo game like I watch every Leaf game, right? But that game, I had a buddy over, our buddy Scott Bridge, who's been on the show, came over, watched the game. And we just had a great time. Bridgie wasn't into it as much as I do. I think he might be a little more of a Ti-Cat fan, but he wasn't letting it on. He was cheering with me for the Argos. But yeah, it was an exciting game. And the predictions, you, I, and Waddy, Dave Watkins last week, we were pretty close. We all picked the Argos, but you, my friend, with the nice stash going today, by the way, I love the Movember going here. And the other thing too is, the Argos win the Grey Cup, and you come on our show the week after with black and gold. You have a black hat and you have gold shirt on. That's not good. The light is playing tricks on you. Okay.
The light's playing tricks on you. Okay. It's actually a very dark navy hat.
Okay. It
has been stricken.
Single blue.
Been stricken black. This is an orange t-shirt. This is orange.
Okay. I got to adjust the hue on my
It's my nice new Alexis on Fire shirt. Got to rep Canada.
I don't know if you've noticed,
the greatest Canadian band ever.
I'm a little logo overload today, but
dude, you're Argoed out.
They won it. They won the Grey Cup. And I as I said, I wanted to buy a sweatshirt.
Let's go.
And I said it to my daughter. I go, hey, Christmas present, blah, blah, blah. And I go, actually, you know what? Don't do it. Don't spend $130 on a sweatshirt. I'm sorry, but don't.
And you know what? Look, maybe I'm a little maybe I'm a little weird. Like I'm a little precious with the sporting like attire I'll buy, you know, like, and I felt bad at time because like a few like years back, you know, like when the Caps started rolling and like doing well, they won the division for the first time in like ages. Back then, the Southeast, some would refer to it as the South Least division.
Yeah.
And my mom bought me a hat, like a division champs hat. And I was like, I played it off cool. I was like, oh, thanks, Ma. You know, like a cool, like birthday gift type deal. It was like an extra little thing. I never wore it.
No,
ever.
I wouldn't either.
I have it somewhere, but I don't even want to look at it because I'm a little weird like that. Like if my team wins the division or the president's trophy. No, I know. I don't.
Let's raise a banner because we won the
or even like, you know, years back, you know, when the Pats were rolling, you know, Mom would be like, hey, you know, do you want an AFC championship shirt? No, I don't. I don't care that we won the AFC. And if they win the Super Bowl, hit me with a shirt, Ma. But you know, I don't want to wear that stuff, you know, and the Grey Cup stuff. It's not that stuff to me isn't even so much like we said with Neil, so much the cost of it. It's they botched the look. You can't put gold on the Argos stuff.
No.
Oh no. I saw it and was like, this is fake. Like I saw it on Twitter, you know, and I'm like, this is fake. Then I'm like,
they had it on after the game, man. They had the t-shirts on after the game.
I couldn't really tell like on TV because again, the hue of it all. I'm like, oh, that kind of looks a little weird. And then I'm seeing it on Twitter and I'm like, gold on an Argos hat. Oh, I don't know, guys.
Not cool. I think I'll just make my own design and print it off on a Cricut and put it on a sweatshirt.
Yeah,
$30.
Use
Who
like
cares?
Redbubble or whatever they I've used Redbubble.
I have
to make custom
my
t-shirts.
daughter Amanda is a graphic designer, so she'll do it for me. She'll make a nice design, right?
Yeah, you're singing. By the way, Amanda, sweet plug there. She designed all the graphics for Instigating. So.
She did, absolutely. Yeah,
Amanda.
One day we should pay her for it, but.
Why have you not paid? This is something we'll discuss after. Unbelievable. All right, maybe I'll get her a nice gift
let's
or something.
Let's show the predictions.
Let's get our prediction board up now.
There we go.
Now you see, Clarkey, you've got 42-34 Argos.
Yeah,
you and Waddy thought this would be, you know, well, you certainly thought it'd be high scoring. Waddy 20. He thought that the Argos were going to walk. He had 27-10. I'm pretty close.
You are. I'll give you credit.
I'm pretty close.
30-24.
I was pretty close. Ends up, of course, being 24-23 and just an all-time classic game. Clark, you know, I know that we might get accused of recency bias here. I think this might go down as like an all-time top 10 classic CFL Grey Cup. I really, really do.
Yeah, there's been some good ones for sure. Like last year's went to overtime. Like it was a great game too. And unfortunately, it was a boneheaded play that made it go to overtime, right? Like
it'll be in there too.
It's right there. And like I know Saskatchewan, I think were there one year, and too many men on the field on a
too many men on the field against the Alouettes, if I'm remembering correctly.
So yeah, but it was like I rewatched. I recorded the game and I rewatched on Monday. The last 5 minutes, just the last 5 minutes. I rewatched it and I'm like, this was incredible. I wasn't thrilled with a couple of things with the TSN broadcast. I didn't like the camera angles they were showing a lot of the time. When you get new toys, you think that they're going to be a benefit, and sometimes they're a hindrance. It's not good. And like I was watching it on 4K channel, and the 10-yard marker wasn't working for the majority game. I don't know if it worked for you, but you couldn't see that yellow line that
I noticed that
superimpose on the field, and it was annoying. Like they've had it all year. Why isn't it working in the Grey Cup game? Right?
My friend asked me, he was like, isn't there usually like a yellow line? I'm not a big sports guy, my buddy. And I was like, I don't know why working. That's not.
It wasn't working.
I have to ask you though, of course, because you bring up, the broadcast. Maybe you didn't watch it. What were your thoughts on the halftime show? I did not watch the halftime show. I'm not country guy. I don't know if you could tell with my Alexis on Fire shirt on. I'm not country guy. I heard a lot of negativity, or at least read it on social media. What did you watch it? What were your thoughts? Like, was it as bad as people were making it out?
Here's the deal. So as I mentioned, Scott Bridge was over, and we were chatting a lot during the halftime show. Did I watch it? No, I didn't really know who the heck it was. I'm like, oh, I know this song, that kind of thing. But I kind of thought it was not appropriate to have just like really good looking women around the stage. Like, it just looked so fake. Like, that's all it was. Like, did you see that? Like, it was just like, did they hire these women to come in? Like, that's what it looked like. I mean, like, it's not like,
I saw some images and was kind of like, oh, okay. Like,
yeah, like, I thought it was offensive.
Well, this is my thing, right? Like, I'm not country guy, and I'm especially not like modern day party rock country guy, which is what Buddy from, I think his name's Tyler Hubbard, from Florida Georgia Line is all about. That's all Florida Georgia Line's music. Every song, and I don't mean to sound like I'm crapping on people's music. If it brings you joy, hey, awesome. Me personally, I can't listen to an album where every other song is about lifted up trucks, tailgates, girls in Daisy Dukes, we're busting open beers at Dave's barn. Like, I can't do it because
you don't live in Saskatchewan either, though, right? You don't live in Saskatchewan. They probably love that there.
I don't, but I did grow up in the middle of Hickville nowhere and went to a very rural school. So I was exposed to this and hey, I'm not even saying like I don't like country music. I'm just more into like what I would call, I'll just bug people with this, actual country music. Hit me with some Alan Jackson, hit me with some Tim McGraw, hit me with Kenny Chesney. Like, let's go. You know, I'm in for that. But this new, like, I refer to it as bro country, where every dude's got sliced off t-shirt sleeves and looks like he has a Ford F-250. Bad mustache. I would fit right in. Throw me on base. Bad mustache, who looks like he drove there in a Ford F-250 lift kit.
You can't say that. Maybe a Chevy Silverado.
Either or. Like, I just, all of it.
If you're looking for a Chevy, come and see me at Larry Hudson's.
I can't get into it. You know what? You got me on a tangent now. I wonder, just before we talk about the Buffalo fiasco, and it was for two reasons, me and the storm itself. I do wonder this because I had I'll call it a debate with Kate, my girlfriend, who likes a lot of different stuff, including stuff I'm into, the hardcore. Like, I said to her, you know what? Like, why can't they just get like a great Canadian band like Alexis on Fire to play? And she was like, they could never do that. Like, they're so underground. Like, and I'm like, well, yeah, but Alexis on Fire is like they'll sell out arenas in Canada. You know, like, I saw them a couple summers ago before COVID, and they sold out Budweiser stage, and there were people outside trying to get tickets. Like, I just wish, like, when Shania did it a few years ago, it was sick. It was like, this is very Canadian. And they
brought her in a sled.
It was unbelievable.
It was fun.
I'm not trying to be like, hey, if you like Florida Georgia Line, you're no friend of mine or something. But like, we have a lot of great artists here in Canada.
We do.
And we like to go, oh, the CFL is so great because it's our game and we have the Rouge and all these different rules. And yet we can't find like more than one Canadian artist to do the halftime show. Like, what's Tyler Hubbard doing there? There are a lot of great, and hey, great Canadian country artists too. Like, let's sort this out. It just bothered me a little bit that, I don't know, whatever.
We need to get Randy on. As Neil said, we need to get Randy Ambrosi on.
Randy, reach out to the bottom of this. I'm on Twitter, which will be dead, so hit me up on Instagram. Maybe Drury08.
Ryan,
hit me up.
Ryan, we probably need to reach out to him. I don't know if he'll reach out to you.
I'll reach out to him. I'll send him an email.
Okay.
I'll send him some thoughts. Like, hey,
I know a lot of great out there.
I know.
Let's get him on the show. Let's talk about it.
Yeah. We should get Randy on the show. Randy, let's go.
Yeah, let's go.
And hey,
let's go.
I could give you a list of 20 artists from Canada that'll get of all different genres. That'll get you through the next 20 Grey Cups. Let's go. My boys in Texas King will play. Let's do it. Glorious Sons? Could you imagine? Come on, get Glorious Sons.
I have no idea what you're
called
talking
the tax
about,
man.
I have no idea. Let's move on. This is a sports show. Let's move on.
That.
Let's talk about the
sawed-off shotgun.
Let's talk about the weather on our sports show.
Well, Old Man Winter pulled out a sawed-off shotgun on Buffalo. My God, was that ever a disaster? Okay, we have a video. Producer Adam and Clarkey couldn't wait to literally bury me in an avalanche of embarrassment because last week I said there's no way this legendary thunder snowstorm is going to be as bad as they say, because you guys know the weather guy routine. It's going to be sunny and 25 on Saturday, and then it's raining and 17, right? So I thought there's no way it's going to be this bad. It won't be 60 plus inches of snow. It'll be like, I think I said 18 to 20. Producer Adam,
first hour.
Producer Adam, get the video. Let's review what occurred last week on the show. They always make it, these meteorologist guys, they always make it sound so much worse than it is.
You're right. You're right.
You know what's going to happen, man?
Let's do an over and under. Set the over under, and I'm going to tell you, let's get the Coolbet over under on how much snow they're going to get in inches.
I should text Jake right now and get that as a bet. That's a bet. So let's do it. They're calling for a max of 72 inches of snow.
Correct. 6 feet.
I'm going to set the over under at 33 and a half.
I'll take the over.
You're going to take the over. I'm going to take the under.
That's only 33
I'm taking the
inches.
under.
So that's just under 3 feet.
Yeah. So these guys make it always sound like it's going to be way worse. Like we're going to get this apocalyptic storm.
Yeah. You know why?
I'm actually going to take.
Here's why. Here's why, Ryan. It's obvious why. Because everyone's going to go on their app and look, and they're going to get millions and millions of hits. It happens here in southwestern Ontario as well. Like, hey, Owen Sound, Listowel, Goderich, Exeter, London, we're all going to get it too. We're not going to get
lake
6
effect
feet,
snow.
We're going to get 1 to 2 feet. And then, we didn't get it. Oh, yeah, no. Well, the wind was blowing the wrong way. Well, then don't tell us we're going to get it.
I'll say this. Look, I'm going to take the under on 33 and a half inches. I'll actually give you a number. I say max they get 18 inches. It won't be near as bad as they say. I'm going to say they get like 18 to 20. It won't be near as bad. And this goofy move to Detroit will seem extremely dumb Sunday afternoon. Okay. I will say this.
Okay, Producer Adam, make sure you have that clip ready for next week because we're going to relive that right there.
Under 33 and a half. And I'm going to take that they get 18 to 20, like max. It's not going to be that
they'll
bad.
Have 4 feet. They'll have 48 inches.
So obviously that has not worked out in my favor, did it? That
didn't age well, as they say.
To be fair, we both severely undersold.
Yeah, but at least I said 4 feet. You said 1.5 feet.
Yeah. It
was fun to watch. I honestly, I was watching the Buffalo News and it was incredible how much snow they had. I've never seen that much snow over.
I've never seen that much snowfall
ever
in that short a time span in my entire life. I could not believe that. And it shut the city down. They're still recovering from it. The city was just outright. The mayor was like, hey, everyone, don't go anywhere.
If you see the screen,
stay inside.
If you see the screen right now, if you're watching or if you're listening, it says at the bottom, Adam I didn't tell him to put this on. Chris Clark won the bet 12 hours after recording last week's show. That's how quick they got 18 inches. It was like, boom.
I have to tell you, I was having a conversation with another young gentleman who was a big sports fan, at the airport. On my way from the Kitchener Municipal Airport. There's a good the Orchard Park.
Yeah.
It
Park.
turned into, it looked like, it's incredible. Yeah, you see Spencer Brown there, who's 6'8" on the Bills, and the snow is up to his head. It's well, unbelievable. Like Devin, Orchard Park,
Singletary, you can't even see. He's 5'7". You can't even see him.
Singletary's gone. Yeah. Singletary's gone,
yeah.
and hey, he was gone in the game in Detroit too. He had a great game. I'll tell you, he's on my fantasy team. Cash some bets. Make sure you use our friend
all the snow. Where do you put all that
for bets?
Like, where do you put all that snow? Like, where do you put it? Like, look at this video here too. You know, someone on TikTok.
Yeah, for our viewers.
Where do you put it? Like, look at this.
I don't even know.
That guy's 6'7",
stage.
And it's on his car. It's over. Like, I don't know, man.
He's got 13-foot high snow drifts there. Like, no BS. It's outrageous.
Yeah.
I can't believe it. It's just an all-timer storm. And like Orchard Park, the pictures of it, it just looked like a big bowl of ice cream. Like,
there's
you
no
couldn't
way
see anything.
Like, unfortunately,
absolutely not.
No, they might have been able to clear the field, but no one could have got it in there.
No, not even the field.
They showed some people trying to walk, and you know how hard it is to walk in a foot of snow. Can you imagine trying to walk through 6 feet of snow? I was watching
you're gassed after about 100 feet. It's like, I'm going home.
Yeah, and I heard one of the Bills, they maybe you know more than I do, but one of the Bills who lived in the South Towns of Buffalo had to walk quite a bit to get to the PR director's car to pick him up to get him to the airport to get him to the game. Like, it was scary, even trying to get out of Buffalo for some of these guys.
Super bad. I think that might have been Dawson Knox, the tight end.
Maybe.
And they ended up playing a great game. Big win in the comfy, warm confines of the dome in Detroit, Ford Field, I believe it's still called anyway. Who cares? The Lions play there. And it's an all timer. Like, it's unbelievable. I sold it way short, and I can't believe it. It was like,
it was
legendarily bad.
Yeah.
Just legendarily bad.
It was crazy. No doubt about it.
It was unbelievable.
Did you see the videos of the Skydome and all the renovations going on there in Toronto? Like, they're underway. It's going to be exciting to see how they're figuring this all out. I mean, I've seen the renditions and everything else, but they're like, and you know what? I was almost thinking, I bet you they would have played that game in Toronto if that dome had been fit to play. Well, obviously they couldn't, right? Like, the Bills have played in Toronto before. So I bet you they would have just played the game in Toronto. All the Buffalo fans would much rather drive an hour and a half to Toronto than 4.5, 5 hours to Detroit. But they couldn't have played. But the renovations are looking pretty cool.
They are looking cool. Yeah, I think it might be one of the most expensive existing sport arena renovations ever. It's very, very expensive. They're pouring a lot of money into it. Of course, Madison Square Garden underwent like a $1.2 billion facelift 5 or 6 years ago, but this is up there. Like, it's a very, it's upwards of like $350 million or something. And it's well underway. You can go on Twitter and see it. It's quite extensive. And the Jays are obviously going to start on a decently lengthy road trip. I think they start next year with 3 road series to give some extra time for final details and everything. God forbid if there's a strike or something.
Right? Yeah. What happened if because they're probably right up against it the way it looks. And if there's a strike, they're 1 strike away from playing in Buffalo again.
Well, and that's what will happen. They got underway like the day after the Jays were eliminated. They were in there.
Thankfully they went out in 2 straight, right? Like, thankfully.
Yeah. Thankfully. Maybe that will help them too. I don't know. Yay. You know what else is awful, and not really going well? It's not Buffalo snowstorm bad, but geez, your Leafs, man. So like somebody did something in the offseason. What a curse that has befallen this team. Now, they're not as injured as my guys, but geez, Morgan Reilly out now 4 to 6. Like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
They bring in Connor Timmins as well.
Yeah. Did they really bring him in? Or like, I know that, so the Leafs called up Mac Hollywell but hold on. They brought up Mac Hollywell and Victor Mete from the Marlies. Is Connor Timmins coming to this team? Sorry, we're recording on the same day the trade happened. I assumed he was going to just go into the Marlies. right? Because they just pulled up 2 defensemen. So the Marlies are short, but they did trade a defenseman. So who knows? I don't know. We'll see what happens with Connor Timmins. Guess what? Guess where he played his junior hockey? Take a guess. Yes, you're right. Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. Like, of course.
I don't need to guess.
No, of course not. Because everyone that
I saw him play quite a bit in the OHL, and he was a good OHL defenseman, not a great OHL defenseman, like a good OHL defenseman. Yeah, well, yeah, and like good enough that he was a first rounder. Or no, he was just in the second round. That was
32nd
overall.
Yeah,
he was 32nd overall, just before 32 teams, not a first rounder, but there, he was talked about as a first rounder for a long time. The thing with him is like obvious, and he had a good World Juniors, all that stuff in Buffalo that year. Here's the thing with him: he's injured all the time, so I don't know how much help he might end up being to the league.
Just the kind of guy we need.
And of course, yes. People are going to, and immediately the reactions I saw, online immediately. Oh, good, another Sioux Greyhound. It is. I think it has to almost be beyond coincidence
it's
at
crazy.
This point.
It is. It's nuts.
And I understand.
It's nuts.
No, and look, if they don't win again this year, God forbid it's in the first round again. Kyle Dubas is going to be looking for a job, and forever his legacy is going to be, well, he got a bunch of Sioux Greyhounds. People will make the joke on his behalf forever. I don't think he cares, but
would you hire him?
It will be.
Would you hire him? If this team loses in the first round again, would you hire Kyle Dubas as your general manager? I think the question is absolutely zero chance. I really do.
It's a tough one.
He will
get hired. He will get hired again.
Let's see what happens the rest of the way. But he has not proved to me. I have no confidence in this guy whatsoever to make a big deal and bring in a big player.
Well, he can't. The thing for me that to just answer your question, like, I don't want him running the Washington Capitals tomorrow. Bad asset management, and I know people will go, oh well, but he had to inherit bad contracts from Lou. Yeah, but you've traded away a lot of first round picks, and the picks that he has made, let's just be frank, beyond the obvious hits in Matthews, and well, he didn't pick Marner or Matthews. Actually, he was not the GM at the time of those picks. Matthews, he was, I think.
But you can't blame the general manager.
Mark Hunter made those picks. But look, he's traded away a lot of assets. No, he's traded away a lot of assets. Leaf fans, as they do, like to big up, their young players. They don't have any elite young players. Their prospect system's not great. Like, look, could some of those guys
I agree. I would trade Nick Robertson and Rasmus Sandin today.
No, but look, what I'm saying is, like, for example, people are going, my biggest criticism of him is he can't pull off the kill shot, that big deal that pushes you over the hump. Because look, at the end of the day, have a lot of the deals worked out? Say what you will of the situation there with Jake Muzzin. Jake Muzzin's played a lot of good hockey for the Leafs. Yes. Did the Mark Giordano thing and subsequent contract work out? Yes. He's 39 years old. They did not get Norris Trophy Mark. He's the oldest player in the league. They did not get Norris Trophy Mark Giordano.
No.
All the picks that they've traded, including one that could have ended up being Konechny, then the goaltender that they got in that deal now plays for Carolina. His legacy, if they ultimately fire him and they fail again, will be not being able to fill out the rest of the roster because they gave $40 million to 4 guys. That's what it will be. So it's a tough thing. And now you got another guy that played for the Sioux, and I understand knowing a guy and being comfortable with them, but my goodness, like, do they all seemingly have to have played for the Sioux? It's like, at this point now, it's a legitimate criticism that will ultimately, for some people, probably hurt him in the long run if they once again can't win. And, I see people today going like, and O-Dog and those guys all talk about it. Oh, we should go get a Cale Makar type defenseman. It's like, yeah, good luck,
sure.
And we should go and trade for this guy. Leaf fans, they seem to think like the popular one now, before it was Nick Robertson. And Nick Robertson's young. He might turn into a very good NHL player. He's struggling right now. Yeah, his value as a trade chip is in the gutter right now.
Yeah.
Right?
Maybe.
Now the latest guy, Matthew Nyes oh, we could trade Matthew Nyes and get Chikrin. We could get this. We could get that. We could get John Klingberg for Matthew Nyes. Matthew Nyes has never set foot on NHL ice, and he's a decent player. Like at best. I would take 10 of the Capitals prospects over Matthew Nyes. Sorry, Leaf fans. Like, I don't know. They love to big these guys up, and then Matthew Nyes will come play and he'll score 1 goal in 25 games and be with the Marlies. Like this precious nature. And that's because he's the only guy they can big up because they have no other like good prospects. He's as good as it gets. And that is, I'm sorry. Oh, we inherited this Marlowe's contract from Lamoriello. After 7 years, it is Kyle Dubas's fault that they don't have a decent prospect pool. I wouldn't even give the Leafs decent. It's like subpar prospect-wise. So if they lose again, the people are going to go. They have a lot of ammunition. Lose in the first round constantly. Bunch of former Sioux Greyhounds. Can this guy scout? Bad asset management, no top end prospects. I don't know, I don't know, but we'll see. But Morgan Reilly's hurt now, and Connor Timmins, God bless him, if he can stay healthy. If he can stay healthy and maybe become something.
Maybe Eric Carlson. Maybe they can get Eric Carlson, right?
I just don't see how they do it.
Well, they have to get another team involved, probably. They have $5 million in cap space right now. They have $5 million in cap space right now.
They'd have to LTIR permanently Jake Muzzin, and then you're looking at getting
that's
a 3-way trade done. And again, San Jose.
Do it. Let's go.
Yeah, but here's what's so complicated, right? The standings are so bunched up at this point right now.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard enough to find one team that's going to do the Leafs a solid. 2 to get a guy like that. Klingberg, much more realistic. Guy that's played in the Cup final recently. No, he's not a big bruiser and crasher. You don't really need that. It depends on how your team plays and just executing. The Pittsburgh Penguins back-to-back, they didn't have any big bruisers. Brooks Orpik was long gone.
No, I know.
You know what I mean? So you can win with a bunch of guys that can get the puck up the ice quickly. You know what I mean? Klingberg is much more realistic to me than Eric Carlson because you absolutely need a second team involved. And to find 2 teams that are willing to help the Leafs out, good luck.
Yeah. Good luck. And as I said, and as you said, I just have no faith that Kyle Dubas can pull it off. And that's the problem.
Put something like that together? He never has.
No, he's never shown it at all, ever. And
the Muzzin trade is the most big time impactful trade he's made.
Yeah.
It is. And it worked out. Like Jake Muzzin, I don't know that you can say that he had struggles and most recently struggled. Yeah. But his health has seriously deteriorated. Like when he first got here, I remember watching his first game as a Leaf and he laid somebody out. I can't remember who it was. He had a big hit within the first couple of minutes. People were losing it. Leaf fans were ecstatic to have Stanley Cup champion Jake Muzzin on the team. So like that's as big as it's gotten. Not a lot of success. I don't know.
You're gonna make me cry.
More successful than my mustache, probably.
The one thing is, and I don't know if you might disagree, goaltending hasn't been an issue.
I don't disagree.
It hasn't been
except when Eric Shalgren has played.
Well, other than Eric Shalgren had one bad gaff in the Islander game. It cost him the game, no question about that.
He's been bad. No, I'm not beating around the bushes. He's bad. Horrifically bad.
Oh my gosh, he hasn't.
Yes, he has. I'm not doing this with you, dude. Eric Shalgren.
He hasn't been horrifically
a gas can in almost every NHL game he's played. I think he's up around 20 games now, and he's been bad in 18 of them.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I totally disagree.
But the other guys, Matt Murray, in the few games he's played, especially Pittsburgh, that, jarring return for him, like big pressure.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
really, really good.
Just stay healthy.
I would actually say he stole them that game.
Yeah.
When it's 3-2.
And Samsonov's been good. If he can stay healthy, if they can stay healthy, those two guys, they're fine. They're fine in that.
The early returns, very positive, particularly Sammy.
For sure.
Particularly Sammy. So we'll see. I don't know.
We'll see how it goes.
All right.
Anyway, fun show tonight.
Final thoughts? It was a fun show.
Final thoughts. My Argos won. I have a team that won a championship, and it's been a long time coming, since 2017. Every MLSE team has won a championship, of course, but the Toronto Maple Leafs. So it's coming. Yeah. Raptors have won.
It's coming.
Argos have won. And
Marlies have won a couple now.
And Canada.
And TFC.
Canada loses in soccer today. That's my only thing to say about soccer. They lost 1-0 to the Belgians. So there you go. Then
the Belgians, yes. The Belgians. Belgium thoroughly outplayed. Michi Batshuayi, who scored the winning goal, said it. They were lucky. And honestly, the refereeing was shambolic. I'm not going to make excuses for them. They should have had 3 penalties.
It's all fixed.
Well,
it's fixed.
I firmly believe it. Like I said, I'm not watching, so I just don't care, because Qatar, the whole thing is a joke to me. But Canada deserved a better fate, but we'll see.
Yep.
Croatia next.
Croatia next.
And we'll definitely have a full breakdown of the Croatia game on next week's show. A full breakdown of the
I might
Croatia
miss
game,
that
courtesy
section
of Clarkey. He's going to give us the expected goals. He's going to give us the passing breakdown, all of it. Crossing percentage.
Listen, I got to go.
I
got to go. We got to wrap up. I got to get down to Maple Leaf Square for the Argo celebration.
You can watch this show Friday nights at 8, Sunday nights at 9 with our friends. Are you invited on Whiteman TV?
You are too.
That's channel 6 for our Whiteman subscribers. We debut on our YouTube channel every week at 9 p.m. Follow us on social media at Instigating Pod. And remember to utilize our great friends at Coolbet Canada. I love the Bet Builder tool. We also thank our friends at the Listowel Squash Courts, Listowel Vision Care, and See the Game. Thanks to the Honorable Neil Lumsden for joining us tonight. Next week, we'll be back with more Instigating. Some very sad news to report. We learned at the end of recording our show this week, obviously the following day on Thursday, November 24th, that the hockey world has lost Börje Salming. Of course, we saw the great scenes there a couple weeks ago for the Hall of Fame game where the Leafs welcomed him back, and we all knew that was probably the last time that he would be able to be embraced by Leafs Nation and hockey fans here in North America as he returned home to Sweden. And of course, the sad news coming down on Thursday this week. Börje Salming, one of the first European players to ever come over. He was the first Swedish player ever inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame in 1996. He's still the all-time leader in assists for the Toronto Maple Leafs with 620. He's 4th in career points for the team. Only Matt Sundin, Daryl Sittler, his good friend, and Dave Keon have more. Maple Leafs president Brendan Shanahan sharing this statement. The Toronto Maple Leafs mourn the loss of Börje Salming. Börje was a pioneer of the game and an icon with an unbreakable spirit and unquestioned toughness. He helped open the door for Europeans in the NHL and defined himself through his play on the ice and through his contributions to the community. Börje joined the Maple Leafs 50 years ago and will forever be a part of the hockey family. We extend our deepest condolences to his wife, Pia, his children, Teresa, Anders, Rasmus, Bianca, Lisa, and Sarah, and his brother, Stieg. Rest in peace, Börje.